Assalamu alaikum and welcome to our Project Management Professional PMP training series. In this video, we would like to learn that what is project management, how projects are managed, and what areas we need to manage. I mean, what should we do to manage a project? And also, we will see that why projects fail, and I will tell you that why we are interested in the failed projects, not the successful projects. And in the last, we will see that when we can say that a project has finished, because sometimes for some projects it's not easy to know. There are some projects are just declared to be finished, sometimes they are not actually finished. So as a in a project management, we should know that okay, if a project is successful or not, if it has failed then why, and at what time we can say that okay, this project is finished, and what exactly is managed when we are managing a project. So let's start. uh, Similarly, like my previous video in which I was telling you that what is a project, here also I will start with the PMI. PMI in PMBOK, page 10, 6th edition PMBOK, the section 1.2.1, it tells us that project management is application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. So, if you see here, also you will feel that uh, basically project management is not something we can say that which is very hard working or which is very hardcore kind of thing. It is basically something related to knowledge and skills, techniques, and one thing which is very peculiar here is that you have to meet project requirements in order to say that this project is being managed or this project is being finished completely. It's not that you should achieve something. The final goal is not the only thing which is required. You have to meet the project requirements, which even if they are more than the final goal. So that's why a lot of projects, even though they become successful in some way and they are told to everyone that okay, we successfully completed this project, but technically those are failed projects. So let's see further. Let's go deep in project management. Basically, projects need coordination. So the main thing a project manager has to do to manage a project, he needs to do a lot of coordination, because if you will see the whole idea of project management, then you will come to know that the project management does not have all the powers in a project. He is not the most powerful person. So he's also a kind of team member, but his duty is to take care of everything, that everyone is working properly and everyone is doing whatever task is being given to him, if he's doing it on time, if he's doing it within budget. So basically, project manager, he has to do a lot of coordination. Project management is, you can, if you want to take one thing out as a main ingredient, then project management is coordination. So because for example, you may have multidiscipline, multicultural, very diverse teams, then there are multitude of different sources. You have, for example, labs, equipment, buildings, material, budget, a lot of things. You have to deal with these. And you may have many simultaneous tasks, and some tasks are needed to be finished before some other task, and some tasks start when some other task has finished. So there is a lot of interdependencies. So then there are a lot of decision points where you need approvals, because a lot of things, they depend on some other thing. For example, something has to be done and it is not completed on time and some other thing has started delaying, then maybe you need some approval to do some kind of mitigation of whatever is going on, or you need to increase the people, you need to increase some resources. So there's a lot of decision making, there's a lot of approvals needed because the budget is never under the project manager. Project approvals are done by the line managers or some other people's. Then the expenditure should be very phased and planned because the funds are coming from someone else. So for example, if you ask someone to provide you some fund on a specific date and then you are not able to spend it, then maybe he should have a problem. So you have to coordinate with a lot of people. And the one of the main thing which is by chance it's sitting on the last, that a project manager should know very well his people, and he should be able to put them on the tasks. So it's not like, for example, you ask for two guys and you are giving two guys and you just ask them to do the work. I mean, you should know that okay, this kind of task, if I have to do, I have to get it done from someone, then who is the best guy, and then you should ask for that guy, not that you should just ask for a guy and that I give me a person and I will have to do this task. So a project manager has to be a very good coordinator. He should know a lot of things, he should know a lot of people, and he should be um, very, you can say, very aggressive, that he should be always on his toes, and he should always be coordinating, meeting, pushing people to do something, or facilitating them. So project needs a lot of coordination. Then there are some constraints that you have to take care, because basically each project has, this is called triple constraint: time, cost, and scope. You have to manage three things at the same time. For example, if you have a project, this project must have a timeline, so it has a time. The project must have a budget because there are no projects which are done free of charge. So you have a cost, and then there's a scope, what you have to do. So if you cannot manage time, cost, and scope together, then the project will lag from something. For example, if the schedule goes out of time, if your schedule goes very lengthy, then your cost should automatically also go over budget. So even if you complete the scope, and this is what we see in generally in the government sector projects, that generally what they do is that they complete the scope and they say that we finished the project. Yes, you finished the project because you completed the scope, but for example, the time was 1 year and you finished it in 20 years. The cost was 1 billion and you finished it in 100 billion. So your project is basically a flop project, it's a failed project. But we just say that no, no, this project is, we complete the project and we can boast about the project that okay, we complete that because the scope is completed. So scope is completion is one part of a project completion. Otherwise, a project is completed if you are within the boundary of these three constraints. And one and the last thing, which is because it is not very easily tangible, so which is quality. Because sometimes what happens that you see that the time is running out, so you decrease the quality, so you manage everything now. Now down, you reduce the time, you reduce the cost, and you complete the scope as well, because quality is not very easy to be gauged. So sometimes what people do that they play on the quality to meet any of the thing which is going beyond their uh, powers. For example, if they are losing some cost, the cost is going very high. So what they will do is that they will reduce the quality of the remaining project. So they will bring the cost in within the budget. Or just as I told you about time, for example, the time is running out. So still if you remove quality, so these triple constraints, they have to be taken care of with a manageable quality. Quality is in a project, quality is not, because it is not very easy to gauge. So quality is something which is acceptable to your customer. If your customer is ready to accept a lower quality, then you can provide him a lower quality. I mean, it is not something bad. It is not that you must provide a very high quality. No, the quality is directly dependent on cost and time. But because quality is not very easy to be written in a book, so you can play with quality a bit. But a good project is a project which is done within the time, within the cost, and completing the project with the best quality which is acceptable to the customer. Now we come to the point that why projects fail. As I told you in the start that I will tell you that why we are interested in the failed project, not in the successful project. There are basically two reasons. The reason number one is that usually projects fail. Very less projects became successful. And if I try to give you some numbers, then I then you can say that almost more than 70% projects in the world they fail. Only 30% of the projects are those who can we can say that those projects are successful. And also it is not, you cannot say very easily, or there is no formula of success. You cannot say that how I can success in the projects, how can I get success. But yes, you can identify a lot of things which can make a project fail. This is not an exhausting list. You can make a very long list as well. But I have tried to write down some, you can say that some known kind of things which are very general. Like for example, the thing that we see a lot in our experience as well. Those, for example, this poor scope definition or scope creep, that sometimes you are not very sure of the scope. Scope is very vague. Or sometimes what happens is that you are sure of the scope initially, but the scope starts increasing with very small requirements from the customer. I do not take in consideration that these small things will become a very large thing one day. So scope creep is also as crucial as poor scope, because both have no limitation. I mean, and this can make a very big impact on your project. A lot of projects fail because the person who is doing the project, he don't know what he has to do. Then there is lack of understanding or unrealistic targets. You don't understand the things, or you don't understand that what is going to be achieved by this project. So even though the scope is defined, but you know everything is not the scope itself. Sometimes there are a lot of other things in a project. There are a lot of processes, there are a lot of other things, time constraints or budget constraints. So if someone does not fully understand a project, he just saw the scope and he say, okay, I can finish the scope. But later on, he did not manage the time. I mean, he took twice of the time. So the reason of the project was gone. So project may become a failed project. Then there is generally seen as a lack of leadership, or sometimes the stakeholders are unknown. So if you don't have the leadership, or the leadership is not powerful enough to help you or to back you in the project, then this project should fail simply. And the other thing is, if you don't know the stakeholders of a project, and you are doing a project and you are not sure that who are the stakeholders, then this is a similar kind of catastrophe, that maybe someday someone will come and he will stop the project, and he will tell you that he's the most powerful person in this project and he can stop the project. So if you don't know all the stakeholders, then also your project is a very risky project. It may be doomed one day. Then one thing is the communication failure. Communication failure is very common thing. Generally, it delays the project. Generally, you may not fully lose the project, but delaying project is also a kind of losing the project, because delaying can take it over budget as well. So communication failure is also a very big problem, and this is something which is also very common, because if you are doing a project which has some teams sitting on some other region, then this kind of problem may become very severe and you could have very big consequences of communication failures. And the poor understanding of local regulation is also something which can make good hindrance in your project, because if, for example, if you don't know that what is the regulation of what is the local regulation, then maybe you are doing something and then someone from the government stops you for an indefinite time. So these things can also bring very big impediments to a project. Then one thing is lack of change control. So if you have a lack of change control, then this can bring a lot of things. For example, this can bring this scope creep, or this can increase your project burden a lot, because if this change control is strict and you cannot change anything in the project, then maybe some changes are very vital for your project, and you cannot do these changes yourself. And if this change control is on the other side, I mean anyone can change your project anytime, then you will never be able to control the project, because then maybe one day you will be doing something and the other day you will come to know that this thing has changed. So change control should be very effective, and change control should have a procedure, and change control should be very well monitored, and the project manager should have very high level of involvement in the change control. Then there is lack of direction or lack of foresight. So sometimes you don't know that what should be going on. For example, if you are doing a project on some coastal city and you did not check the weather properly, and you came to know suddenly that there is some hurricane which is going to affect your area of project in the exact days when you are planning to do something. So you must be aware of all the risks of your project. You should have a very good foresight, and also your direction should be very clear. You should know the goal of the projects. You should know that where this project should be leading to, and you should be aware of all these kind of issues from the start, that okay, I have to keep my project in the right direction in in this manner. I mean, I will do this kind of things to keep my project in the right direction. Then lack of commitment by sponsor is also one of the main, you can say, main thing when the project failed, because if the sponsor is no more committed, then you can have all kind of issues. One of the issue is insufficient funding. Maybe he will stop your funding. So also, if your project is not aligned with the company objectives, then maybe one day company came to know that you are doing a project which is not in their company roadmap. So this may also fail the project. Lack of coordination is everything. I mean, as I told you before, that project management is basically coordination. So if the coordination is not proper, it's not taken care of, then project is doomed to be failed. Sometimes some projects are started for wrong reasons. Project was started by some wrong assumptions. So as soon as the assumption was corrected, so the project is cancelled. So this also became a reason to fail project. Sometimes you have a lack of availability from the staff, but it is not a big issue. I mean, you can hire the staff if it is easily possible. Sometimes you have no time for testing. You make a plan without understanding that how much testing is required. But still, this can delay the project a bit, and these are things which can be managed. But if they are not managed properly on time, like for example, you have a lack of coordination of for availability of staff and testing and these kind of things, then the project may fail. Now, this reason, yeah, this looks very strange reason. I mean, maybe no one should believe that you are doing a project, you don't have a project plan. But this is a reason, and this reason is, I'm a bit laughing as well, that I have seen this from my own eyes in my own experience. I mean, sometimes you are asked to help someone on a project, and when you ask, okay, I can help you, what is your project plan? And he will tell you that I have no plan. I just have to finish the project. So there are some projects in the world which are being done without any plan, and the one who was doing it, he just have to finish it. And sometimes these projects become successful as well, but generally these will fail. Lack of experience or lack of quality is something also again which can be managed. If the project is a long-term project, then you can groom the people, you can give them some experience, you can train everyone. Even sometimes the project manager is doing his first project, so he can also be groomed and trained. And lack of quality is something which is you can say it's a very small kind of thing, because it is something which you can always argue, and you can always for example, if your customer is a good customer and he is accommodating, then you can talk to him, and then you can do some acceptance of on the quality that you are providing. But if the lack of quality is from the start and it was never mentioned to the customer, and at the end he rejected the whole project, then the lack of quality can also make a project fail. So this is not exhausting list. There may be 100 more reasons, but generally we can say that coordination, scope definition, change control, these are some kind of big things that can affect, and they can fail a project. So how do we know if a project is finished? So as per the PMI PMBOK 6th edition, page 5, these are the reasons, these are the things that if they have been done, then we can say that the project is finished. Number 1, if the project's objective and goals have been reached. Here there is nothing written as the project's final outcome or project's output. The output is not the only objective. A project has more than one objective. Like we said in our previous example of triple constraint and quality. So time, cost, and scope. You have to finish the scope. Okay, that's fine. But within time and within budget and with a certain quality. And if it is not a normal project where you have to hand over some finished material, then there may be some goals as well. If, for example, if it is a change management project, so you have to manage, you have to bring some change. So this project may have some very high level of goals. You have to, for example, you have to increase the commitment level of the employees then these are some goals which are not easy to describe or not easy to achieve. So basically a project ends when project's objectives and goals have been reached. Number two, if these are not reached, then the project is cancelled. So this is, you can say, a repetition of the first, but just to tell you that I mean this is the main thing, that if projects objective and goals have been reached, then only a project is found to be finished. Now, for example, if funding is exhausted or no longer available, so the project is cancelled. So sometimes you are doing everything fine, you are on time, you are on budget, project is getting all the milestones, but suddenly you are told that your project has no funding. So your project is cancelled and the project is gone. If the need for the project is no longer exist, for example, you are doing some project for something, whatever, and now that thing is no more required in your company. For example, you are doing a project for a new product, you are going to launch a new product, and you started the project because the management asked you to start the project, and you start working on the product and you are halfway to it, but suddenly the sales team or the marketing team, they came back from the market and they told you that the need of that specific product is not that much now that we can go in a full blown production. So because the need is gone, so your project is also gone. So if the need is gone, then the project is also cancelled. Sometimes for some special projects, if the human or physical resource is no longer available, then the project is cancelled. So for example, if you have some specific project and that project was dependent on some specific people to work on it. So if those people are no longer available, then your project is cancelled because you need some specific guys and now they are no more available. And sometimes there is some legal or some convenience. I mean, sometimes some project has to be terminated because terminating the project is more viable for the company than completing the project. So in that case also the project is cancelled, or project is, you can say, in all these cases the project is finished. I mean, your project is somehow finished. I mean, because it cannot be undertaken further. But it is not a successful project. A successful project is a project which finish with the project objective and all the goals have been reached. So this is only one point is related to a successful project. Otherwise, you can also see from here that if we take them as a percentage, then 84% of the reasons take us to a failed or cancelled project. Only 16% of the reasons take us to the successful project, and this is also kind of near to the actual as well. I mean, generally a very low percentage of projects they they become successful. Mostly the projects fail. So I hope this should be beneficial for you and you should have learned something from this video. If you have any specific question regarding the video, you can comment on the video, and please subscribe to my channel as well. If you have any other question, or if you want to ask something related to project management or any other thing written here, then please you can send me an email or you can contact me on LinkedIn. And do subscribe my channel, like my videos, and hope to see you in some other video on some other day, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.